All right, so we got two topics to talk about in this video. We're going to talk about Ben Askren going hard in the paint conspiracy theory on Daniel Cormier's channel. Daniel Cormier pushing back on said conspiracy theory. One of them is right, one of them is wrong, and I'm going to go through it and explain to you exactly why, even though many of you have probably seen me break this down because this is my conspiracy theory that Ben Askren is on board with. And that's nice because it's clearly, well, I don't know about clearly, but I would say like, if I had to bet one way or the other about whether or not me and Ben are right, I would go pretty hard on right. And Cormier is going to throw some defense saying, no, here's why. There's no way it's true. And he's wrong. So, well, I mean, like I said, I think he's wrong. So we're going to go through that. Then I want to talk about Anthony Smith's fight. And I went and looked through some of the social media stuff. I read the comments on some videos. I read a bunch of stuff. And like, I just feel like people are misinterpreting what happened on Saturday, okay? Short notice fight, why he took the fight, most of all, okay? Like, people are saying all this stuff, and they're like, oh, it's like, dude, he took the fight on, like, 10 days notice. And I'll tell you exactly why. I'll tell you, like, there's a lot of upside in him taking that fight, and doing it on short notice takes away a lot of the downside, and so we're going to talk about all of that, and maybe I can also just educate people on how to handle this part of being a fan of mixed martial arts, because people think of me and they're like, oh, there's a guy who never holds back, talks a bunch of shit, right, about some things and then not about others ever. And so yeah, that's what we're going to talk about. And then yeah, so go ahead and subscribe to the channel. If you would have been subscribed to the channel a long time ago, then a year ago you would have heard this conspiracy theory, and when I laid out exactly why I think this is what happened, you'll go, that actually makes a lot of sense. Like, that really makes a lot of sense. So much sense, in fact, that Ben Askren, the only person involved in this conversation who doesn't work for UFC and ESPN, is on board with me. So anyway, subscribe. I will love you guys forever, and I'll have you back no matter what. You call me in a prison in communist China. I need your help, Jesse. I don't know you. Yeah, but I'm a subscriber. Say no more. I'll be there like Batman. Anyway, let's rock and roll, and let's watch. All right, so here's Daniel Cormier and Ben Askren discussing a very shocking conspiracy theory that I've been talking about for a year.
Colby Covington's comments.
Well, I'm still on the conspiracy theory about them telling Hamzat to miss weight and doing the switch up with
so
him.
You actually, you're so
I think that's a possibility.
Dude, that's impossible because of the, listen.
Oh.
Okay, so first of all, I just want to poker face DC. My opinion, DC really believes what he's saying. Like, when he says that's impossible, I think he is taking the position that he really does believe. So I don't think he's just like running defense for the UFC. I think he really believes this, but listen to his argument, which I will completely, throw a strong counter argument to shortly.
Nate Diaz was leaving. They didn't want Nate Diaz left after beating Tony Ferguson on a victory. If you're leaving a company, if you're leaving a job, they don't want you to leave in the way that you're valuable. They would have liked for him to lose. I think that's why he got Hamzat. Could you imagine if he fought Hamzat?
It just worked out too good, bro. It's just, I don't.
Okay, let me stop you there because they're both right, except DC is missing the main part that connects all of the dots. He's right. That is exactly why he got the Hamzat. Well, not to a point, okay? So again, Ben Askren is saying he believes the conspiracy theory about Nate Diaz and Hamzat Chimaev's fight where Hamzat misses weight by 8 pounds, and then suddenly has a catch weight fight with Kevin Holland right there. Kevin Holland then subsequently after the fight said he's retiring from fighting because he got paid so much. I wonder why. It all worked out very nicely, but bottom line is DC's position is, why would you switch and give Nate Diaz a winnable fight when you want to send guys out devalued? Everyone knows that. Everyone knows that if a guy is on the last fight of his contract, you devalue him. That is across the board. There's nothing nefarious about that. He's going to fight for another organization. You want him to have as little value that can hurt you as possible. Fact. Okay? So, when Nate Diaz was refusing to re-sign, he's one of the hottest people in the entire industry. Francis was heavyweight champion. They wanted to keep him, but he's not a huge pay-per-view draw. Nate Diaz is a big deal. Huge pay-per-view draw. They've got the Conor and Nate fight. The UFC was doing everything they could to re-sign him, and Nate just kept on saying no. Finally, this is how this actually happened. Ariel broke the story that Nate had a sunset clause in his contract. Hunter Campbell then called Yahoo, and I know that they got this from Hunter because it said it in the article that Kevin, I think it was Kevin Aioli, puts in Yahoo News, Yahoo Sports, that Hunter Campbell just announced that Khamzat Chimaev and Nate Diaz have verbally agreed to a bout at UFC whatever. I think it was 279. And I was like, they verbally agreed to a bout, and he got it from Hunter Campbell. Why would Hunter Campbell be talking to the press? You know, that's got to be, like, that has to be strategy. Hunter is a top dog. You have Dana and Hunter, okay? Hunter does all the negotiations, all of them. He is like, if you find out that Hunter Campbell has a problem with you, that's a serious fucking problem for you. You know what I mean? Like, he's not, like him just calling the press, there has to be a reason. And that happening on the same day that it got announced that Nate Diaz didn't even have to do another fight. He could just wait until October and his contract would be over anyway. And Nate had said he'd fight anybody. Give me Khamzat, give me whatever. So Hunter just goes, boom, hey, Khamzat, are you down to fight Nate Diaz? Yes. Okay, boom. And then he announces the fight. Strategy, right? And why Khamzat? Why Khamzat? Because you want to send Nate out on a loss, right? So the other part of this is that when you were leading up to that card, there was no one on that card. No one. It was Khamzat and Nate and not a single other recognizable name until like a month out. It was bizarre. In my opinion, it's because they didn't think Nate would really fight Khamzat. I think that they didn't think he would really fight. And Nate's just like, dude, I'll fight anybody. I don't care. So as you get up to the actual fight where this thing has actually formed itself, now you have a real card. They're like, dude, Nate's really going to do this. Khamzat's training. He's the wolf. He's crazy. Now the UFC, having run this whole playbook of devalue him, whatever, now they're faced with, okay, this is actually happening. What are people in the media saying? And what were people in the media saying? They were saying it is straight up unethical to make this fight. They're like I disagreed with this. Bisping disagreed with this. I know for 100% sure that Bisping and I both publicly were like, what are you talking about? Nate's a professional fighter. If he wants to take this fight, he can take this fight. There's nothing unethical about it. But many people were saying that it was unethical. So you know that is going to be part of the narrative around the fight, depending on how it goes. Listen, if Nate goes out there and pulls some crazy submission and submits Khamzat, then guess what? The fact that it was unethical, that goes away. But what happens if Khamzat goes out there and he absolutely smashes Nate's face in? Because think about that matchup. Just think about it. Okay, Khamzat is a takedown machine. Nate Diaz has incredible jiu-jitsu. So Nate Diaz probably can be relied upon to not get submitted. So what's going to happen? Khamzat's going to punch him in the face over and over and over and over. And Nate is so tough, he won't finish him. Nate is likely to get battered. 10-8, 10-8, 10-8, like bad, where it was really ugly. And after the fight, it's going to be like, this is what you did for this guy after 18 fucking years of service. He fought for you for 18 fucking years, and he wouldn't re-sign with you because he wanted to go make money boxing in another sport against an influencer. And so what you did, you took a sledgehammer to his face, you fucking cocksuckers. What's wrong with you guys? That is what they were concerned about. It was the blowback that they would have taken if Nate went in there and got his ass handed to him, where he got devastatingly beaten by Khamzat, which stylistically was not unlikely. So they had to do something. They had to shake it up because that was the most likely outcome for that fight. Think about the styles, dude. That's the most likely outcome. And it was going to be massive blowback against the UFC. Now, they had to do a thing where they know they can't tell Nate they're switching it up. So they have to do this backdoor thing with a couple guys, Khamzat, Holland, and keep it. And then Khamzat starts talking about it. He just talked about it before his Usman fight. He said, I only missed one time. You guys want to talk about this. This was not an idea. This is a whole scheme. Other people want to talk about it. He literally said it in his press conference. Okay? So Daniel Cormier is right. That is why he got the Khamzat fight. But what was going to happen is the reason that they had to switch it. This is not a challenging narrative to talk. Like, just think about what I'm saying. Does that really sound like an outcome the UFC wanted once all of the MMA media is calling it unethical? Khamzat's never missed weight. He misses by 8 fucking pounds, and people see him out at restaurants the night before just eating and shit. Come on, dude. It's so obvious. It's so obvious. Congratulations, Ben Askren. You are a smart person. Now, it might not end up being true. I could just be crazy. But at least I'm making an extremely coherent argument for why. And I'm even saying that what DC's thought process is right partially. He's just forgetting about that last part, the blowback, which is what they're trying to avoid. So congratulations to Ben Askren, and I'm glad that we're aligned, even though I did a video teasing you about being in love with Bad Baby. It was a fucking joke, dude. I was doing fake interviews for Jake Paul. Yours was the first one that I got, and you said, cash me outside, how about that? I had a cash me outside, how about that answer. Of course I'm going to use that, dude. I mean, come on. I'm not a perfect person. Anyway, but now let's switch gears and talk about Anthony Smith. Okay, so obviously people know that, you know, Anthony's a buddy of mine that I like. Obviously, I to be honest, like I didn't watch the fight. That's a true story. I didn't watch it. I was too nervous. It was my wife. It was me and Gabrielle's 15-year anniversary. I watched basically all the other fights, and I was like, I can't. It's too much anxiety, and so I didn't watch it. I'm trying to, you know, I looked up the outcome, and then I went and watched the finish, and you know, obviously it was super gnarly. But look, like I talk a lot of shit on this channel. I'll make an interview about Ben Askren being in love with a 13-year-old Bad Baby, Danielle Bergoli, Cash Me Outside girl. You know, like, that's funny. I'm teasing him. I'm teasing people. Okay? Huge difference between teasing people and being an actual, like, disrespectful cocksucker. Okay? People who comment after fights for people and say nasty stuff about their career and time to this, time to that, like that's so fucking disrespectful. It's crazy. I haven't even said that about Tony Ferguson. You know, anytime I've ever said anything about a guy, you know, maybe we do that. It's out of concern for those guys, if anything, you know what I mean? But I don't do that. I don't tell people when to retire. I don't tell people, I just don't do that. And I honestly don't think that is where Anthony's at. I think this is I think if you look at the last 4 fights of Anthony's, because I'm saying, like, I went online and everybody in social media, time to hang it up, time to hang it up, time to hang it up. It's like, first of all, he's like 34 years old or something, 34, 35. He has a lot of fights for sure. And a lot of those were early stoppages for him. Like, he stopped the other guy. And if you look at these last ones, so he's lost 3 of 4, right? He's lost 3 of 4. You know what? Forget about the Roundtree one, because the Roundtree one was taken on short notice against a very, very tough guy. So look at the previous 2. So he's lost 2 of 3. Okay. Well, he got injured in that first one, and he was coming off 3 first-round victories. Okay? First-round stoppage, first-round stoppage, first-round stoppage. All for him. Then he breaks his leg. Okay? I saw responses after that fight that were nuts to me. I'm like, dude, he broke his leg. He didn't, like, his leg broke. It's not like Uncle Liev caught him in like some, you know, ankle lock and broke his leg. Like, he just broke his leg. So there's that. He came back off of a very serious injury and lost to Johnny Walker. Fine. He lost that fight. Yeah. Then he comes back and he wins against Ryan Spence. So he's 1-1 in his last 2 fights, as far as I'm concerned, because the injury doesn't really count. If you really want to think about it, you could call him 4-1 in his last 5. Right? I mean, that's a defendable position. That going into this fight, he was 4-1 out of his last 5. If you just, all you have to do is just pull out the injury. And then he takes a short notice fight against Khalil Roundtree. So I think a lot of people also were saying, they're like, why the hell did he take that fight on short notice? I'll tell you exactly why he took that fight. I will tell you exactly why he took that fight. Because even though I just walked into a very defensible, he's 4-1 in his last 5 fights, you know, situation. Here's the thing about that, right? He's also 34, 35. I'm not sure. I think he's 30. He's either 34 or 35. He knows that the lay of the division, for him to get a title shot, he's going to have to, he's either going to have to win a bunch in a row or figure out a way to jam himself into there. Now, Alex Pereira, current champion, has a problem with him. He's openly said he wants Anthony Smith. He said that. That's what Alex Pereira said. So Anthony's looking at it like, all right, I'm coming off of a win. This guy's coming off 4. If I come in on 10 days notice and I beat this guy in highlight fashion, then there's a world where I get a title shot right now. And there was. If he would have waited, he probably finds himself in this, you know, he's like in this tweener where it's gonna be a while for him to get a title shot. And he's not 25. You know what I mean? So he's looking down the barrel at retirement in the next few years. You know, I don't know what that is, but like the next few years. And he's like, this is probably my best shot at getting a title shot. So he takes the fight. Now, if you take the title shot off the table, then yeah, taking a 10-day notice fight against Khalil Rountree is pretty nuts, man. But the title shot's there. That's his entire career is building to try to win the title. So if he has the opportunity to try to get a title shot, he is going to take it. So this whole thing about like, oh, you know, he's washed, he should hang it up. I don't see that. I saw he was 4-1 in his last 5, minus the injury, and then he took a short notice fight. That's how I look at it, and that's the way it is. You know. Now that was a rough finish for sure, but you know, I mean, I don't know. It is what it is. Now the other thing too is, like I talk about this a lot on the channel, just about like I don't know, like the end of guys' careers, and by the way, like I hopefully I'm being clear. I'm not saying that this is the end of Anthony's career at all. I'm only talking about the end of the career because I saw so many people say that online, where I'm like, what the fuck are you talking about, dude? And here's how I respond to that. I just don't think people understand what they're saying when they say that. Like, I just don't think that people understand how, like what they're actually saying. I was watching a documentary called, oh God, it's on Apple TV, and it's about like the pro surfing tour. And like, they're showing Kelly Slater. He's been on the pro tour for 30 fucking years. 30 years he's been on the pro tour. Okay? And he's going into the Pipeline Masters, and some guys all gets an autograph. He's all, hey, Kelly, you think this is your last tournament? And Kelly doesn't respond. And he's all, you think it's your last one, man? And I'm sitting there watching. I'm like, shut the fuck up, guy. Jesus. Like, do you understand human beings at all? Why the fuck would you say a thing like that? I don't understand. Like, I don't understand how people say things like that to people. They're people. Like, this is a real person. Kelly Slater, I know, like, he's won a million world titles. He's a real fucking person. You think he's not terrified of retirement? Do you really think that? Why the fuck would he still be competing at age 50 if he had some amazing plan for his retirement? The guy is a competitor. He has been on the world tour his entire life. He has no idea what he's going to do with himself. None. He's terrified of retirement. So what are you doing? You asking for, like, that's your icebreaker? You're all, hey, man. So, I mean, honestly, no joke, saying that to Kelly Slater, being like, hey, thanks for the autograph. So you think this is your last one, is not dissimilar from getting an autograph and being all, so how long you think your mom has before she dies? I mean, seriously, that's how fucking tone deaf it is to ask a person that. And every time someone says, hey, that guy should retire, that's what you're saying. That is what you're saying. So like, would you go on to someone's, like, a video about a person and just be like, I think it's time we pull the plug on your mom, you know? I think it's time. She's had enough time, dude. Let's kill her. Let's just, yeah, I mean, you know, I know she's on life support. Let's just pull the plug. And you're like, you think you need to be, you should be involved in that fucking decision, dude? You know what I mean? You think you should be involved in the decision of whether to pull life support off of someone's mom? A person's career is that big a deal. Okay? They're fighters. This is what they've done their whole life. They retire. What are they going to do? Now, I'm not saying none of them have successful careers after their fight career, but you guys are obviously smart enough to think about this, right? Like, what do most guys do after their career? I don't know. I know you don't know. And why do you think that is? You know what I mean? Think about this. What other career path can you take where when you get to age 40, let's just say 40, right? 40 was like the cutoff where people were going to all retire at age 40. What career is there where you work and no matter how well you do and how far you advance, that career path becomes a non-option for you anymore starting at that age? None, except professional athlete. That's the only one. Every other one you work for until you're 40, and then you're in a position where you're making much more money, you have more responsibility but more freedom, and you have a much better life. Like when you're that age, that's where you are. It's the exact opposite for fighters and for other professional athletes. Now, other professional athletes, they bank so much money, they could probably just choose to do what they want to do if they're stars. A person who'd been at like, you know, I mean, just because we're talking about like someone who'd been at Anthony Smith's level for that amount of time in the NBA, he'd have $60 million in the bank. That's how, I mean, seriously, like NBA guys that are Anthony Smith level are making $12 to $14 million a year. Easy. And have been for the last 7-8 years. Okay. Fighters, not that. I mean, I'm sure Anthony's cool financially, whatever. He's got a bunch of other stuff going on. I only use him as the example because we're talking, but like for guys who are not super well set up financially and don't have an ESPN job like Anthony and all that stuff, like which most of them don't, right? The end of their career is like they no longer can fight professionally. And what are they going to do for money? Like, how are they going to support their families? These guys have family. What are they going to do? You know what I mean? That's part of the reason why chasing the title is so important to them when they get older, because then they start thinking about finances. They're like, okay, yeah, this was about glory. Now it's about money. I need to get the title so I can get 2 fights under my belt, make $5 million. And then when I go into retirement, I don't have to worry about this shit. So like when people go on and they just say shit like that, it's so fucked up. Shut the fuck up with that, dude. Time to, you know, just get out. Just time to hang it up, dude. In the comment, it's like, again, I don't have a better metaphor than like, I think you should pull the plug on your mom's life support. It's like, shut up, dude. You know? I mean, obviously, if it's coming from a good place, that's different. I'm talking about people who are just talking shit, man. You know, like just talking shit. Just fucking talking shit. If someone's like, I mean, you know the difference between good intention, bad intention. As far as Anthony goes, I don't see how anybody could have good intentions to say a thing like that. Like, what? Why? You know, you don't know what his goals are. You don't know what he's thinking. He's not super old. He has a lot of fights, but he has a lot of early stoppages in his favor. Like I said, he went into that fight 4-1 in his last 5. If you take out the Ankalaev fight, 4-1 in his last 5. If you take out the Ankalaev fight. You know what I mean? And he took it on short notice. This is an easy position to defend. Anyway, but I'm sure that he is obviously very upset. I mean, losing fights, the guy's fucking lives are on the line, man. Every single time they step in there, I'm sure he's very sad. And, you know, hopefully he bounces back as soon as possible. But anyway, that's what I got. I love you guys. I will reiterate that Ben Askren knows what's up. And DC is coping. They did that. And it was smart that they did it. Love you guys. Bye-bye.